Okay, so this video is going to be showing you about how to create a form template. So remember, this is already on Moodle, ready for you to complete under the Designing a Database folder. So what is a form? Well, just to remind you, the form is the screens that the user will see. So when we're designing the form, we've got to think about the user, not ourselves. So not how we would use it, but more, does it make sense to the people that are going to be using it? So let's say, for example, we look at the Games R Us form. So let's look. Because remember, when you create one on Access, it doesn't mean you have to accept what's already on the screen. So the title. Is that clear that it's a title? Should we make the font larger, perhaps centralise it? And I would perhaps call this form View All Games R Us Games, rather than All Data. That might not be clear to the user what it's all about. The labels here, which will always stay on the screen, they are quite pale, so perhaps we should make those a larger font, perhaps a bit bolder. And then the data, so these are the ones that will actually change every time you change to the next record. Again, if there's room on the screen, we could perhaps make those a larger font and a bit bolder. And if we made the header, labels, different fonts and sizes to the data, it will clearly show the user which are the titles and which are the information. The buttons at the bottom, does it make it clear that the buttons, it's not too bad, but all in all, this form is very bland, it's all white, so perhaps we should add a little bit of colour onto it. But just bear in mind, when you do add colour, we don't want it to be clashing. Consider people who've got colour blindness or dyslexia, or just people who are staring at the screen all day, they don't want to be given a headache. So remember, focus on pale backgrounds and bolder, deeper colours for your actual text. So if we look at another example of a form I've created here, if you see, I've not made it brash colours, but the title clearly stands out just by putting it in a nice dark grey background and bold blue words. If you look in the actual body of the data, the labels are bold and blue with the grey background continuing all the way through the form. Whereas in the data labels themselves, so these are the ones with the white background, these are the ones where the information will change every time you click to move a new record. So it clearly shows the user which is the information. And if you look at the bottom, at the buttons, I've made those red words, and it just makes the user notice them and see that they're a little bit different to whatever's above it. So when you're creating your form design, so going through the example that's on Moodle, remember everything in red is examples of what you would be filling in, and then you do a little sketch below. So make it clear which objects you're pulling your form from and which one, what you're going to call your form. So these are the colours and the fonts that you're choosing. If you're not sure, have a mess around on Microsoft Word and look which works well with which. But you can see here I've said that the detail, the main body's got a light blue background. I've gave the title, the header, a little bit of a darker colour, so that's a blue, a grey colour, and then it shows the user that the title is different to the main body. And then if you look here, the labels, they are just dark blue background, the same as the actual form, whereas the data is got a white background. So this shows me, if I was marking this as your assignment, that I can see if you click on this button here called View Next Record, I know that the whole screen would carry on looking exactly the same, apart from these white boxes which have got the data in, and they'll change and show you the next record. This part here is about the buttons that you've got. So where it says name, that is what you're actually going to show on the button. So whatever it says here should match down below in the actual buttons. Text or picture is just whether you want it to show words on the button or a picture. We normally use words because a picture, well, if it's not clear from the picture what the macro or the button's going to do, it's going to be really confusing where you're going from there. And then the purpose, just free format, you explain what that button's going to do. And that's it. So remember, consider the user. Make sure it's all nicely aligned as well. So you look here, I've made sure that it's all neat. And to change the colours, all you do is once you've inserted a shape, so in this case we'd insert just a normal triangle from your top toolbar, then you can just click on your box